nothing would or could compare to his wife's cooking. That was why they were here. Each of the new arrivals became quickly aware that there were two strangers in their midst. A few averted their eyes in some confusion and scurried off to sit at tables as far removed from the strangers as the size of the room allowed. Others, somewhat bolder, nodded respectfully as they took their seats. One brave soul spoke up with the hope that their worships had come to enjoy the entertainments their humble village was to have on offer for the rest of the day. The room grew hushed, as all attention was turned upon their worships in anticipation of a reply. The Marquess of Dorchester, who neither knew the name of the village nor cared, looked about the dark, shabby tap-room with disfavour, and ignored everyone. It was possible he had not even heard the question, or noticed the hush. His brother, more gregarious by nature, and more ready to be delighted by any novelty that presented itself, nodded amiably to the gathering in general, and asked the inevitable question. "And what entertainments would those be?" he asked. It was all the encouragement those gathered there needed. They were about to celebrate the end of the harvest, with contests in everything under the sun. Singing, fiddle-playing, dancing, arm-wrestling, archery, wood-sawing, to name a few. There were to be races for the children, and pony rides, and contests in needlework and cooking for the women, and displays of garden produce, of course, and prizes for the best. There was going to be something for everyone, and all sorts of booths, with everything one could wish for upon which to spend one's money. Most of the garden produce and the women's items were to be sold or auctioned after the judging. There was to be a grand feast in the church hall in the late afternoon, before general dancing in the evening. All the proceeds from the day were to go into the fund for the church roof. The church roof apparently leaked like a sieve whenever there was a good rain, and only 5 or 6 of the pews were safe to sit upon. They got mighty crowded on a wet day. "Not that some of our younger folk complain too loud about the crowding," someone offered. "Some of them pray all week for rain on Sunday," someone else added. Andre Lamarr joined in the general guffaw that succeeded these witticisms. "Perhaps we will stay an hour or two to watch some of the contests," he said. "Log sawing, did you say? And arm wrestling? I might even try a bout myself." All eyes turned upon his companion, who had neither spoken nor shown any spark of interest in all the supposedly irresistible delights the day held in store. They offered a marked contrast to the beholder, these two brothers. There was a gap of almost 13 years in their ages, but it was not just a contrast in years. Marcel Lamarr, Marquess of Dorchester, was tall, well-formed, impeccably elegant, and austerely handsome. His dark hair was silvering at the temples. His face was narrow, with high cheekbones and a somewhat hawkish nose and thin lips. His eyes were dark and hooded. He looked upon the world with cynical disdain, and the world looked back upon him, when it dared look at all, with something bordering upon fear. He had a reputation as a hard man, one who did not suffer fools gladly, or at all. He also had a reputation for hard living and deep gambling, among other vices. He was reputed to have left behind a string of broken-hearted mistresses and courtesans and hopeful widows during the course of his almost 40 years. As for unmarried ladies and their ambitious mammas and hopeful papas, they had long ago given up hope of netting him. One quelling glance from those dark eyes of his could freeze even the most determined among them in their tracks. They consoled themselves by fanning the flames of the rumour that he lacked either a heart or a conscience, and he did nothing to disabuse them of such a notion. Andre Lamarr, by contrast, was a personable young man, shorter, slightly broader, fairer of hair and complexion, and altogether more open and congenial of countenance than his brother. He liked people, and people generally liked him. He was always ready to be amused, and he was not always discriminating about where that amusement came from. At present he was charmed by these cheerful